Hello and welcome back to the channel. Today's topic is reviewing the Ophydian destroyers from the Necron Codex. Right then, one of your fast attack options within the book, also considered one of the melee based infantry choices. Now we recently did a video on the channel for the best Necron melee unit within the Codex. If you've yet to check that one out, I'd highly recommend doing so. It really opened my eyes when filming the video of how good this unit actually is. So today we're talking about the Ophydian destroyers. They are 5 power for a unit of 3 models or 10 power for anything more than 4. Point wise, they're 35 points a model. You can get them in a max unit of 6 models, which will set you back 210 points in total. Starting off with the keywords of note, they can fit into any dynasty which you can take. They're Ophydian destroyers obviously, they carry the destroyer cult keyword and they're an infantry unit. Stat wise, movement 10 inch, weapon skill 3+, ballistic skill 3+, strength 4, toughness 4, wounds 3, attacks 3, leadership 10 and a 4+ save. So rapid movement as you'd expect from a fast attack unit. Their toughness doesn't quite match up to the other destroyer units as well as the strength, and that 4+ armor save is a bit of a red flag. Onto the abilities, living metal as they've got multiple wounds so you can regain a single wound per turn. Reanimation protocols, which isn't actually that great for this unit, again due to having multiple wounds and also due to the size of the unit. When one dies you get 3 dice and you need 3 5+ rolls for it to be reanimated, which isn't likely. The odds are only in your favour when 3 die, as you then get 9 dice to roll and only require 3 5+ rolls to get a single model back. But if you did only take a 3-man unit, then the unit has been completely wiped anyway, so cannot be reanimated. Command protocols, which is your army wide buff, each battle round which requires a noble, and for the unit to be within 6 inches of any character on the board, that is a Necron. Next is Hardwired for Destruction, which is a destroyer specific ability that allows the unit to reroll hit rolls of 1. Pretty nice. Next I've got the Hyperphase Reap Blades ability, which really should be in the weapons description. Not really sure why it's been placed within the abilities, so we'll go over this when we talk about the weapons. Whip Coil Bodies, which is pretty sweet. When they're targeted by an attack in melee, it's a -1 to hit them. Now it doesn't work for ranged attacks unfortunately. Then finally a pretty important ability for the unit, which is Tunneling Horrors, which effectively is a version of Deep Strike, coming in from turn 2 onwards anywhere on the board as long as you're more than 9 inches away from enemy units. Okay, now onto the weapons then. For every 3 models in the unit, 1 model is equipped with 2 Hyperphase Reap Blades and the Ophydian Claws. Every other model is equipped with a Hyperphase Thresher and the Ophydian Claws. So there's no actual options for your weapon loadouts here. 1 has the Reap Blades and 2 have the Threshers for every 3 in the unit. And all models in the unit are going to have those claws. So let's start with the Hyperphase Reap Blade. They're a melee weapon which is strength +2, making it strength 6, -4 AP and the damage is 3. So this is a nasty weapon, it's hurting almost everything. Ophydian destroyers have 3 attacks base, and we mustn't forget the ability which was placed in the ability section called Hyperphase Reap Blades. Each time an attack is made with a Hyperphase Reap Blade, an unmodified hit roll of a 6 scores an additional hit. So you've got half a chance of rolling a 6 with your 3 attacks. For the purpose of the breakdown, we'll ignore that ability for now, as it is a 50-50 after all. 3 attacks base will net you an average of 2.3 hits if you take into consideration that you reroll 1s. Against toughness 3 models you only need 2s to wound, which nets you about 2 dead models. Against toughness 4 and toughness 5 models you'll need 3s, so you should kill 1 model. We're talking Space Marine models here. Now if it was a Terminator model with a 5+ Inv1 save, it will still remove that model because the damage is 3 and it's going to go through. So in some cases you won't kill a Terminator, for example if it's a Death Guard Terminator that has a -1 to all damage with their disgusting resilience. Brings down the damage to a damage of 2, so it won't kill them on average. Against toughness 7 vehicles it slows down a little bit as it's doing an average of 2.3 damage, but you need to remember this is only 1 model within the unit, and we've yet to mention the Ophydian Claws that each model has. So keep that figure in mind that it's 2.3 on the vehicles. Next you've got the Hyperphase Threshers, which are strength user, making them strength 4, -3 AP and the damage is 2. And when the bearer fights you make an additional attack with the weapon, so 2 models have these, giving you a total of 8 attacks. They are only strength 4 unfortunately. Out of the 8 attacks you're going to hit on average 6.2 of them with the rerolls of 1. Against toughness 3 expect about 4 models to be destroyed. Toughness 4 marines you'll probably remove 2 of them. Toughness 5 is closer to 1 2 wounded model there. Against those vehicles at toughness 6 and toughness 7 you're doing about 3.5 damage to 1. So when you add this 3.5 damage to the previous weapon, which was 2.3 damage to those same vehicles, you're averaging 5.8 damage, and again we've still got more to go with those claws. So these Ophydian Claws, each time the bearer attacks you can make 2 additional attacks with this weapon. So these are extra attacks, they're for free. They are only strength user, -1 AP and 1 damage, so the strength 4 but as mentioned, all 3 of them are going to have these, which is going to give you a total of 6 attacks with a min unit. You'll be lucky to remove a single marine model with these, or a couple of 1 wounded models such as Orc Boys. Against those vehicles with a 3+ armor save, you approximately get 1 wound off, giving the unit a grand total of 6.8 damage on average to a toughness 7 vehicle that you've had to roll 5 just to wound on, so that's not really bad going, is it? They'll kill about 4 toughness 4 marine troop bodies in a single fight phase 2, or 3 marine terminators. Potentially it could do more if you rolled a 6 with those reap blades. So we've established here that it doesn't matter what the target is, these guys chew through anything. Even hordes are taking casualties as those extra attacks with those Ophydian claws are making a mess of them with the sheer amount of attacks. So a very well rounded melee unit, and all of these breakdowns are based on having just 3 of them. Now if you want a full 6-man unit, just simply double the figures here to see the results. Okay, let's talk about synergy, starting with the dynasty codes. All codes work in one way or another, but I'm going to be focusing more on the melee focused dynasty codes for now. The Novak code is the one that stands out to me as the option here from the 6 within the book. This code gives all units a +1 to their charge roll, and also if you did charge or were charged, then all weapons are going to get an additional -1 AP. Now your main weapons are already pretty high with the AP with -3 and -4 AP, but don't forget those Ophydian claws which will now be a -2 AP. The Nephric Dynasty code gives a 6+ invuln save to all units and also allows you to auto advance 6 inches, and this can be done through terrain or other models, so it's virtually like having the fly keyword. They can also fall back in the same manner, although the unit shouldn't really be falling back. The Nihilak Dynasty code grants objective secured, which is really nice on a fast attack unit looking to push enemy units off of their own objective, so it's quite an aggressive code and works perfectly for your Ophydian destroyers. It also does turn -1 AP weapons into 0 AP weapons if they're targeted by an enemy attack whilst in your own deployment zone, but you're very likely to not be in your own deployment zone with these guys. The Zwakan code blocks mortal wound damage on a 5+, which isn't bad, because they're quite likely to be the nearest unit for smite attacks. They also get a single reroll to wound roll per phase per unit when you attack. So with those reap blades in particular, you're going to be wanting to reroll one of those. So do the reap blades first, I think. The Mithric code and the Celtic code are more shooty based, so we're going to ignore those for this video today. So a few ideas for the custom codes: Eternal Conquerors for objective secured, Superior Artisans for a single reroll to wound roll, Rad Reaved I've always loved, which reduces an enemy toughness by 1 if you're in engagement range of them, so this gets your Threshers and the Claws wounding Marines on 3s, and also those Reap Blades are wounding them on 2s. Unyielding for a 6+ invuln save is pretty good. And then Masters of the Martial for a single reroll to hit roll. Then finally Butchers for the +1 to charge. So loads of options with the Dynastic Traditions part of the custom code. From the Circumstances of Awakening list, you've got a Rise of the Interlopers, which is any 6s to hit will auto wound, so very solid for a unit with tons of attacks. Then you've got Relentless Expansionist for that 6-inch pre-game move, although these guys have deep strikes so probably won't be needing this. If I was to choose a custom code pairing, I'd go with Rad Reeves for the -1 toughness, then I'd go with the Arise Against the Interlopers for the 6s being auto wounds. Seems a nice fit for these guys. In fact, I think I'd take that combo over the main 6 Dynasty codes. Okay, on to the stratagems. I'll firstly do the Dynasty specific stratagems as that's still fresh in our minds. So only 2 out of the 6 actually apply to the unit. The Novak stratagem Blood Rites will give each model in the unit an additional attack for just 1 CP. Pretty good. And the Zwakan Dynasty code, which is Empiric Damping for 1 CP, will block an enemy psychic power being cast within 18 inches of your unit, and you need to roll a 4+ to deny it. So a bit of anti-smiting perhaps. As far as the more generic stratagems go, there's only actually one that works with this unit, which is Burrowing Nightmares, which is 1 CP used in the movement phase on your unit. You remove the unit from play, and in the next movement phase you basically can deep strike again. It can be useful if you're severely out of position with the unit after coming in and wiping out a unit, but with these smaller board sizes and a movement of 10 inches, I don't think you'd need this, but at the same time, if you know it will take you at least 2 turns to reach a new target, then you may as well use it, as it will protect them from being shot. It's an option at least. As for some synergy within the book, the Locust Lord and the Scorpec Lord both have the United in Destruction aura ability to allow for Destroy cults within 6 inches to reroll 1s to wound, so now you'll be rerolling 1s to hit and rerolling 1s to wound. Both are pretty good in melee and can move 8 inches as well. They can also take a Veil of Darkness to meet your Ophidian destroyers at a set location, also while bringing in a core unit for some extra support. The Technomancer can take the Phylactery Hive for 20 points, allows him to use his Rites of Reanimation ability to bring back a single model for your unit. Usually it's done with core units, but this Arcana allows it to be used on Destroyer cult units as well. He can heal any units within 6 inches D3 wounds per turn with his Canoptic Cloak, as it works on any Dynasty units. and also he's got a 10-inch movement and fly, so he can at least keep up. A Chronomancer can use his Chronometron ability to not only give the important 5+ in-run save, also a reroll to their charge rolls, both being pretty good for you. You can also give your Chronomancer the Dimensional Sanctum Arcana for 15 points so that he can also deep strike and meet your unit where they want to meet. Another option which you won't see much use of, but I like to try it one day, which is deep striking a Hexmark Destroyer within the unit, so that they provide a good lookout serve for him as he's a character. Kit him out with the Gauntlet of the Conflagrator Relic for even more pistol madness. It sounds fun on paper, but probably not the most competitive. So now it's probably worth talking about the Plasma Sight in this section, as they do interact with your unit. The guy's 15 points and won't take up a slot if it comes with a Destroyer Cult unit, which you do have. You can deep strike him in with your Destroyers, and in the charge phase or the fight phase, you roll a single dice for him. On a 1, one of your Ophydian Destroyers unfortunately will die, but on a 2 or more, is given each model within the unit an additional attack and a +1 to their strength of all of their weapons, so that's actually quite mega. You can have Strength 7 Reap Blades and Strength 5 Threshers and Strength 5 Ophydian Claws too. So time to conclude the unit and give them a rating. A very speedy unit, has Deep Strike, which is huge for the Codex as a whole. The only other melee based unit within the book that has that ability is the Flayed ones, which aren't really that meta right now. They hit hard and hit all types of enemies, which makes them extremely versatile, even though they can't actually change their weapon loadout, which is extremely rare. They've got a bit of synergy, not as much as core units or canoptic units, but have a bit of play with those Scorpic Lords and the Locust Lords. They're slightly let down by their stat line, especially when you compare it to the nearest alternative, which is the Scorpic Destroyers. Although they are quicker with their 10-inch movement, they've got 1 less strength and 1 less toughness and a poorer armor save of a 4+. But they are getting those extra attacks with their claws and have the all-important deep strike ability. So these are what a lot of people call a Glasshammer unit. They come in and absolutely murder an enemy unit, but then they likely will die as they've not got the resiliency to stay alive with that 4+ armor save. But this is still a benefit to a Necron player because you're selecting the unit to kill, whereas once you've killed that unit, your opponent has no choice but to focus on your Ophidians, which only costs you 105 points for a 3-man unit, which is a huge distraction as well, and gets your other units up the board and protects your really important units such as your Doomsday Ark or your Doomstalkers. Also, these guys have quite likely cost your opponent some victory points if they've contested an objective or even stolen one. It may only be for 1 round, but those are the margins that win or lose you a game. When these guys came out in 9th edition, I didn't really like them, but after filming the Necron melee video, it really opened my eyes to how good the unit actually is. Again, I'd urge you to watch that video if you haven't already. You'll notice how consistently good this unit is in almost every test I did. So as for rating, I previously would have gave these guys a 3, but after doing that video and doing a deeper dive into them in this video, they're definitely worth more than that. So today I'm going to be giving the Ophydian Destroyers a Planet 40k rating of 3.5 out of 5. Very close to a 4, but I've given the Scorpic Destroyers a 4 in the past videos, and they are the champs when it comes to the melee options in my opinion. Now once all the Necron units have been reviewed from the Codex, I will be doing a blanket video to update each of the ratings as the meta has changed with the new Codexes being released each month. I think there's only 5 or 6 videos left, so once they're done, we'll redo them all in one big video. So guys, let me know how you're using this unit and what dynasty you're using. If you're using custom codes, put that down below and tell me how you're doing it. Drop a like and a sub if you are new, and yeah, go watch that Necron melee video for more of a number crunch on how well these guys do in given scenarios. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.